Courtney Comox, please.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I am very pleased to be able to rise today in support of Bill 26, the Municipal Affairs Statute Amendments Act. I want to begin by saying thank you very much to the Minister. I think it is a real tribute to her history in local government, that the kinds of amendments that we're seeing, the kinds of actions that we're seeing coming out of her ministry are taking those measured steps, step by step, that are demonstrating a response to what local governments are asking for, at the same time as connecting it to our commitments to the people of British Columbia. We all know that local governments are that first line of government, the first line of defense. They know their communities, they know the challenges that they face. As they're trying to build those communities, we're working with them. We started with the housing needs assessments so that communities could get a better handle on what was going on with their housing needs. We've joined in partnership to build affordable housing, and we continue to support local governments in their roles as builders of their community. And to that end, this legislation does provide balance to moving forward to address the opportunities that local government has requested, and in working with UBCM, with local governments, with stakeholders like developers, the nonprofit housing providers, housing advocates, we're starting to see that next step take place with this legislation. I want to just talk a little bit in terms of one of my communities. Courtney Comox has a city of Courtney, it has a town of Comox, and it has a regional district. But I'm going to concentrate on Courtney for this purpose so that I won't bore everybody with all of the various statistics. But in their housing needs assessment, they spoke to the BC housing wait list. There's 214 households listed as of last May. The growth of renters in a single year was 585. The percentage of renters has continued to maintain the same, but it's grown by nearly 600 people, and that was in May of 2020. Affordability is one of the problems, and tied to it is supply and the speed that housing can be built. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that we have some real challenges in our housing supply. We have had executive directors move on to other communities because they could not find housing in our community. I've had families begging for housing who have had to split up because they've lost their rental housing and they can't find housing for a mother, a father, and their child. We've had seniors who are on wait lists that grow and grow and grow. When I say seniors, I'm just going to say people who become retired, because you often go from having, an income that is significant and makes life affordable, and when you retire, your income drops significantly. And if you don't own your home, you can be in a very challenging place. So these are the kinds of stories that we are responding to, not just on an individual basis, but across the province. People have had to move away. Businesses have struggled with the fact that they don't have workers because the workers can't find housing. We've had problems when we've needed nurses, and nurses are going to come from away and there's no place to house them. So local governments want to be dealing with that, and they want to be dealing with the fact that we want affordable housing and we also need to increase the supply. And one of the things that we know is that time is money. If we can build housing faster, we can make it more affordable. But we also want to build community, and local governments are very aware of that. They are right there in the face of community and know the challenges that can happen if you build the wrong thing in the wrong place. But they also know that they have a responsibility for the greater community. So this bill has a number of measures that create the balance that we need to be able to introduce a more modern way of looking at our development approval process, as was described at one conference that the previous minister responsible for housing put on early in our last parliament, where they talked about the development approval process having been a patchwork that's been created over hundreds of years. And how do you streamline things? How do you change things that become so entrenched when we have over 200, or is it 250 local governments that are all challenged with the same patchwork of processes. So this legislation starts by introducing, when I talk about balance, that public notice. And it's a way for residents to be able to engage earlier on in the development approval process. When you have the flexibility as a local government to reach out to more people, you do a better job of engaging with them as you move through the approval process. And engaging early helps identify problems and fix them earlier, and it also gives people an opportunity to feel that their voices are heard. So that's one of the pieces that's really important in this legislation. And I think the part around the streamlining the development approval processes that remove the requirement for local governments to hold public hearings for zoning bylaws that are consistent with the official community plan is a really important distinction that people should be aware of. Official community plans are the foundation of how things can proceed in building community. And the public is invited very much to be a part of it. It's a very robust process where people get to engage in a visioning process, and they get to imagine what their communities are going to be like. And if a rezoning is consistent with that, the notion of having a public hearing at third reading is way down the line. Get your public input in early, and you're going to have a better outcome. So this is supporting that, and I think it's a terrific balance for communities to be able to take that step of engaging early with their communities, moving the process along faster so that we can build more affordable housing, so that our communities can grow, so that we can have nurses in our hospitals, so that we can have the jobs in the bakeries and in the stores. You know, all of the different range of need for housing is important for us to have better communities. If a rezoning isn't in compliance with the OCP, it means that there will be a public hearing, because you have to amend the official community plan. So it's not an attempt to try and remove the public from the process. It's actually an attempt to make it better. The other piece of it is around variances. I've lived in communities where there's been boards of variance, and those processes can be pretty cumbersome. Having variances that have to go to city councils is also another form of encumbrance. The types of variances that are going to be allowed are not, are allowed to be completed by staff, are not substantive. If people are worried that there's going to be a variance that's going to cause more density in their neighborhood, or if it's going to change a permitted use, that's not a minor variance, and that's not what this legislation is intended to do. it's intended, once again, to help speed up the development approval processes so that we can meet that goal of creating more affordable housing in our communities. It's yet another step in the process of getting rid of a patchwork of hundreds of years of trying to make it work to bring us into the 21st century and to continue to build more affordable, and build better. In saying that, I want to say that it's not over with this legislation. There is still so much more work to do, and this is just one more expression of the commitment that we have as a government to make life better, to make life more affordable, and to help grow a stronger BC. Thank you for your time, Mr. Speaker.